Welcome back to NYSE TV Live. This afternoon, winners of the 2024 Madrona IA40 list and partners of Madrona will ring the closing bell here at the New York Stock Exchange. And joining me now is Matt McIlwain, Madrona's managing director. Matt, it is great to have you down here to the New York Stock Exchange. First of all, for any of our viewers who might be a bit unfamiliar, talk to us about the IA40 list.
Sure. So IA40 stands for the Intelligent Application 40. And it's a list that we at Madrona started 5 years ago. And the goal of the list is to identify the 40 most important private AI companies. So we did that 5 years ago, like pre-ChatGPT. And the interesting thing about this list is that in the last 4 years, we're working on the 5th year list that right now, there's only been 4 companies that have been on the list all 4 years. So that shows how dynamic the world of AI is.
Can you talk to me about some of those 4 companies and what makes them such strong standouts or differentiators in admittedly a very crowded field?
Well, let's talk about one that's an enabling technology company, Databricks. At the heart of AI is the data and being able to use that data to train models and then apply those trained models to solving real world problems. Databricks is a stalwart. They've been on the list all 4 years. Another one is Runway ML. Runway ML is a company that uses AI to make videos, magical videos, enterprise class videos. In fact, movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once used Runway ML's technology to make certain scenes in the movie.
Wow, that's awesome. What is highest priority for you and the team as you go about looking at these lists year over year? And I'm curious how you are being introduced to new entrants to consider for the list, because I'm sure you've got some names on this year that maybe were not even necessarily on your radar a couple of years ago.
Well, that's right. So here's the methodology. We go talk to all our friends in the venture capital community. Madrona is a early stage venture capital firm based on the West Coast. But we want the collective wisdom, the swarm intelligence, if you want to use that term, which is an AI term, of all the venture community and all the major tech companies. So think Amazon, Microsoft, Google. They all nominate companies. Then there's a voting mechanism. Then we pull in some data from PitchBook and algorithmically determine what are the 40 top companies. So that's the methodology. And to give you sort of the veracity of these companies, there's in the last 2 years, so the 2023 list and 2024 list, the winners in those 2 years have raised $100 billion of capital in the last 2 years. So May 2023 to May 2025. That's almost a third of all the venture capital dollars that were invested in the United States in those last 2 years.
What do a lot of these companies have in common with one another?
There's what they have in common is that they're mostly AI native companies. They were started de novo as an AI company that is rapidly growing. Think about companies like Glean. Glean is a company that allows you in the enterprise to find anything you need with the power of AI, whether it's across your Microsoft products or your Salesforce products or any kind of product. Similarly, Read.ai does something like that, but more bottoms up. So starting with things like your Zoom, wouldn't you like an instant meeting recap of every Zoom that you had and be able to put that in the context of your business and workflow? So that's a couple examples of AI native companies. But then you also have companies, that are applying, that kind of skill and capability into specific vertical markets, very specific domain markets. Companies like Decagon, which is doing that in the customer service area. So what they all have in common, with a few exceptions, there's a few companies that have gotten credit for being now AI, even though they weren't really AI native.
Sure.
But they're maybe, executing very, very well. And that's generally hard to do.
What would your advice be to the average person watching this who might only have a bit of a looser familiarity with overall large language models or the artificial intelligence space to encourage them to become smarter AI consumers?
Oh, well, I think that the thing to do is jump in and to try the technologies that are out there and accessible to you today, whether that's Perplexity or ChatGPT or the things that are embedded in applications like Microsoft applications that you use. Give it a try. And maybe more importantly, if you're more my demographic than my kids' demographics, they're all in their 20s, go talk to folks and how they're using it in their 20s. We had a dinner last night with a group of entrepreneurs, many of them these IA40 winners, and the younger demographic and how they're using these technologies, including asking ChatGPT for personal advice on life decisions. So I think we underestimate the capabilities of these technologies. And so my advice to people is jump in and try it. Fairly soon, you're going to be able to buy a television, book a trip, using an AI agent. So get comfortable with where it's at today because it's changing rapidly.
We're about out of time. How soon will you and your team start to look at next year's list?
We are looking at it right now. We're about to accept the nomination. So if you're an AI company, you should be talking to your investors about, hey, can we be on the IA40 list this year?
You ever use a little bit of AI to help you with the AI?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you did. I've spoken like a true innovator right there. Matt McIlwain, Madrona's managing director. Congratulations on the list, and thanks a lot for joining us here on the show.
Thanks for having me.